People are on edge right now, shaming each other, blaming each other, canceling each other, and being extra critical of each other. So, of course, it feels extra risky to speak up right now. But as a leader, you have a responsibility to take a stand for what you believe. Are you willing to take that stand at the risk of losing followers? In today's episode, I dive deep into the real reasons why you're feeling extra resistance to speak your mind right now, the risks that come with taking a stand, and the 8 truths that you need to own in order to speak up with courage and with confidence. Now, if you are new to the podcast or a loyal thought leader, please take a moment right now to hit pause and download a few episodes and drop a rating and review on iTunes. I would so appreciate this. This really helps get this podcast out to more people. And of course, share it with a friend. If you have questions about this episode or any other episode, or you just want to connect via text messaging, please do so by texting me at 1-781-336-0160. And just remember to mention the episode number. This episode is 188. If you dig this podcast, you want to stay in the loop for new episodes and other things, please join my email community, www.rubyfremon.com/subscribe. Now it is time to dive into the risks that come with speaking up as a leader. Hey, thought leaders, welcome back to another solo episode. Like I said, you're going to be hearing a lot more solos from me. And today I want to talk about something that's been percolating in the background for a little bit. Since, well, quite frankly, all this shit started to go down in 2020. You know, first we had COVID, and then Black Lives Matter in the mix. More COVID, more Black Lives Matter, more polarity, more division. It has been a year. One of my friends said yesterday that it's felt like a decade. And I agree. It's been a lot. And with that, there's a lot of things that we can take a stand for as leaders right now. There's a lot of causes. I mean, the newest thing in the mix is the, sexual child sex trafficking and the pedo ring and all these things. And there's just so much. There's so much coming to the surface. And there's a responsibility that comes with leadership, especially when it comes to potent leadership. There's a responsibility with that. And that responsibility is to really take a stand for things. And I also want to say that in taking a stand for things, don't let yourself feel pressured to take a stand for things. And this is what I want to talk about today. I think that there's a lot of, as leaders, we're feeling a lot of pressure to show up, to take a stand, to speak up. And there's also a lot of causes that are worth fighting for. A lot of causes that we could give our voices to. But let's just be real, it's fucking overwhelming. You know, what are you going to talk about? You're going to talk about COVID, Black Lives Matter, child sex trafficking, the pedo ring, like the vaccines, like what do you want to talk about? There's a lot of things. And my invitation to you is to take a stand for the things that you really want to take a stand for, and don't let yourself feel guilty about not taking a stand for the other things. And this is where shit gets twisted. I think that there's a lot of, a fly just flew in my face. So if you're watching the video and wondering what I'm doing, that's what's happening. There's a lot of causes worth fighting for right now. I don't think there's one cause that's not worth fighting for. I think there's a lot, but we only have so much energy. We only have so much time. We only have so much content that we can create. We only have so much output. And I think that with everything that's happening, what is happening in along with this is that we're feeling the pressure and the shame from others. And this can be real, and it can also be something that we're just projecting out of our own insecurities because we feel like we should be showing up more. You know, there are people out there who are outwardly shaming you into showing up, shaming you for not showing up, shaming you for getting it wrong, shaming you for saying the wrong damn fucking thing. There are people shaming you. I mean, my husband, as a white male, has received a couple questionable DMs that were obviously meant to shame him in regards to how he's showing up. But this kind of shit doesn't help anyone. Shaming does not serve anyone. And yet, even if you're not the one doing it, you are playing into it by reacting to it, by showing up only because you were shamed into showing up. And then there's those who are, the guilt. Well, if I don't speak up on child sex trafficking, then I feel guilty because I really need to. And it's like, but are you equipped to? Is this something that you really want to speak up about? It's okay if it's not. We all have causes that resonate with our hearts. And like I said, like everything is a good cause. Every cause is worth fighting for, but which one are you willing to take a stand for? And that's where we come up to the title of this podcast, which is speaking up at the risk of losing followers. What are you willing to take a stand for at the risk of losing followers, at the risk of losing business, at the risk of being shamed, being judged, being hated, being ridiculed? What's worth it to you? Because like I said, leadership is a responsibility. We are here to take a stand for what we believe in. And if we don't, then how can we encourage others to? It just doesn't work that way. You're not here to be fucking lukewarm or a diluted version of yourself. You're here to be your potent fucking self. And so if you are in any way, shape, or form feeling this resistance to taking a stand for something that you really want to take a stand for, here's why. Now, like I said, 2020 has brought a lot to the surface. It's brought a lot of polarities to the surface. And what polarity does is polarity creates division. Polarity is how it sounds. It's like, imagine a pole and there's two ends of the pole. You're either on one side or the other. That's what polarity is. And in our industry, personal development space, entrepreneurship, whatever it is, we have been taught over the last year, especially, or 2 years especially, that polarity is effective in marketing. And so people want to be polarizing in order to gain attention. But polarity creates division, right? It creates an us versus them mentality. And division creates confusion and confrontation, because when it becomes us versus them, there is a confusion. Well, why us versus them? And then there's an immediate confrontation. It's us versus them. It's me versus you. This is why it can feel even harder right now to show up, to speak up, to take a stand, because of all this polarity, because of all this division, because of all this confusion and confrontation. On top of that, with everything that's been happening this year, people are on edge, including you and me, being extra critical of those who may think or act differently than them, right? Like everyone's kind of on edge a little. And how can we not be on edge? The news, the media, like everything is really fucking loud, trying to get you to believe one thing over another. It's very polarizing. People are like fighting for you to be on one team or the other. It's crazy. And so we have the added judgments and being critical of one another just because we think different. I mean, we're seeing more and more people shaming each other now than ever before, publicly, right? We're even seeing something called cancel culture. Cancel culture. Journalists are being fired for sharing their thoughts, ideas, and opinions. I mean, hello, wasn't that what journalism is all about? Medical doctors are being fired, having their careers thrown out the window for sharing their medical perspectives. I mean, cancel culture is a thing. Entrepreneurs and businesses alike, corporations are being canceled for saying the wrong thing during the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, it's fucking chaos. We are seeing more and more people shaming each other, blaming each other, canceling each other, insulting each other. So of course, it feels scary and scarier than ever to speak up, because we have the polarity. We have people on edge. We have the shaming, blaming, insulting, and canceling. Of course, it feels scary to show up. We even have people losing their social media accounts. I think just last week, JP Sears' YouTube channel was censored and banned, or some videos were deleted. I mean, this is fucked up. So the fear is real, yes. But is taking a stand for your cause and what you believe in worth that? Is it worth losing the followers? Is it worth that risk? Now, I love to talk about our basic human needs, and we all have this basic human need for love and belonging. And with that comes the desired acceptance from other people. And so whether you're aware of it or not, on your social media platforms, you are chasing approval and validation. In fact, I wrote an entire fucking 2 chapters of this in my book. We're all chasing approval and validation, all of us, whether it's a conscious chase or an unconscious chase. This is why we all get dopamine hits, right? You get these dopamine hits when you receive likes and comments on your posts. It's also why your heart sinks when you read disapproving comments or DMs. But again, as a leader, you have a responsibility, right? You also have a desire, right, to do better, to take a stand for what you believe in. You have a desire to take a stand for your purpose, for your mission. You have a desire to take a stand for the things that you feel are right. So the more you stay quiet right now, the more you dilute your potency. The more you hold yourself back, the more you dilute your potency. The more you hide or play small because of this fear of losing, the threat of losing followers or getting your account canceled, the more you dilute your potency. And I'm not saying that you need to take a stand for every single fucking cause. No, in fact, please do not do that. Please do not do that. Be laser focused on what you choose to take a stand for. What is the thing that you really feel passionately aligned with to take a stand with? And if you want to share about all the things, share about all things. But I think the biggest mistake people are making right now is they're sharing because they feel shamed into doing so. And whether, again, someone's shaming them or they're just shaming themselves, right? They're sharing because they think they need to, because they should, but they don't really fully take a stand for it. Not that they're a bad person and they believe in pedophilia. No, they just don't know enough about it. And so we also have to understand, as leaders, what we share online can often be taken as the truth by people in our audiences. And so with that comes the responsibility of vetting everything that you share. So when it comes to your truths and your opinions and your beliefs about things, you have to get real with yourself about why you're not sharing those things right now. Why are you not sharing them? For me, it's when I see other leaders, it doesn't even matter if we believe the same thing. When I see other leaders sharing their thoughts and opinions in a very conscious way that doesn't involve shaming, blaming, name calling, it's beautiful to witness, because I see a leader who's really leading. I see a leader who's not pretending. I see a leader who's willing to stand in their truth, who's willing to take a stand at the risk of losing followers and perhaps even at the risk of losing their account. And there's risks on all sides here. Like, you can either not speak up, bite your tongue, feel like you could be doing more. That in itself is a risk. Or you can speak up and take that risk, right? Like, there's a risk either way. And if you truly are here to lead, if you truly are here to lead with integrity, then that involves taking a stand for the things that you believe in. It does. Are you willing to take a stand at the risk of losing followers? Are you willing to speak about what's most important to you at the risk of being judged, shamed, ridiculed, or even hated? Are you willing to find that courage within and to use that to speak up in times of tension, like right now? And again, I'm not encouraging you to speak up on things that you don't feel comfortable speaking up on. I'm not encouraging you to speak up when you're not ready to speak up. But for those of you who are ready, for those of you, and this is you, if you're nodding your head and you feel it in your gut or in your heart, for those of you who have been really wanting to show up, but feel like you've had to hold yourself back due to this fear of losing followers, of having your accounts canceled, of losing clients, of not doing well of destroying your business. You have to ask yourself those things. You have to ask yourself if you're willing to take a stand at the risk of losing followers, at the risk of perhaps impacting your business. Now, I know that I've lost followers since all of this started. I've lost quite a few followers. I've actually also lost friends, which is really sad because I've lost friends of like 9 years, which is unfortunate and sad, but it really came down to not wanting to have a conversation and them making assumptions about everything that I believe based on certain pieces of content that I share, which is not fair. So I know that the threat of losing followers is real. I know that very well. But I also know the risk of not speaking my truth. And I'm just not willing to be that leader, not willing to be that human being. And so there are some truths that you need to own if you're ready to speak up. And those truths are: you will be judged, you will be hated, you will be ridiculed, you will lose followers, and you will be respected, you will be loved, you will be appreciated, and you will attract supporters and not followers. It goes both ways. The more that you hide those pieces of yourself, the more you hide from your audience, from the people who are really meant to be in your space. This isn't about bringing in the most amount of people or pleasing or appeasing. This is about taking a stand, and in leadership, you have to take a stand. So my invitation for you, the leader who has felt ready to take a stand but is scared, is to just take that first step, knowing these truths, owning these truths. You will be judged, you will be hated, you will be ridiculed, you will lose followers, and you will be respected, you will be loved, you will be appreciated, you will attract supporters. Because now is the time when your voice is needed. And when you do share, please, please share from a place of being anchored into your truth. Don't just share things for the sake of sharing things. Don't just share things so you can be seen as or perceived as a leader. No, you need to fucking own everything you share. You need to take responsibility for everything you share. You need to take responsibility for who you're fucking being online, because that shit matters. Whew. So I think that's all I got to say about that right now. I know I have a lot more to say on that, and I can continue to talk on that, but I'm on day 1 of a watermelon fast, and I am feeling pretty done. So I do want to hear from you, though, because I want to keep this conversation going. I think I might do a part 2 on this, whether it's an actual podcast episode or maybe an Instagram, but I want to hear from you. So if this is something that you've been navigating, speaking up at the risk of losing followers, something that you've been wanting to do but are struggling with, or something that you've been doing and you've been doing well, please hit me up, fill me in, let me know what's going well about it, what worked for you, and let me know if you're stuck. Let me know why you're stuck. What's really holding you back from showing up right now, from speaking up right now? And you can do so by texting me at 1-781-336-0160. Okay, and just remember to mention the episode number, which this episode is 188. So you can shoot me a text, or you can hit me up on social media. Instagram and Twitter are my favorite places to live. My handle is at I am Ruby. And of course, if you just want to say hi, you can do that too. Please be sure to leave a rating and review on iTunes and share this episode and the podcast with a friend. Help me get this out to more people. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of today's Thought Leader, where I'm challenging you to activate the leader within. Please make sure you check back on Monday for a new episode. And thank you again for joining me.